What's up guys, Lifting here. So I've made some changes to my Essence Drain guide. Last time I wasn't really satisfied with the damage against the Guardians and the very late game. I've made some changes and I'm happier with what it is now. It deals much more damage. So what I did was I swapped from the Surgial's Crank to a Consuming Dark setup with Skin of the Loyal. Skin of the Loyal gives you that +1 to circulate gems, so that's similar to the Surgials, but the upside is that you can then, you don't have to have the poison gem in here. So instead of poison, you can add in something that deals more damage, and I added in slower projectiles, and that gives a pretty big damage boost, and you're still able to poison with the Consuming Dark. So a pretty significant damage boost. With this, the tooltip damage is around 40,000 DPS. Before that, I think it was around 33, 34 maybe with the Surgials. So pretty significant. And the Guardians feel pretty good now. You can definitely kill that. Oh, and it's probably of interest for you guys to know that we did test a Delirium weapon versus the Consuming Dark. In terms of damage and the setup we're able to run here. And Consuming Dark, as long as we had a decent amount of damage in the higher levels, Consuming Dark won over the Delirium weapon. But you may want to use the Delirium weapon early on while you're leveling, or just until you get a decent amount of damage on the Essence Drain by itself. But Consuming Dark wins out over Delirium. At least when we tested it, it felt much faster and it was significantly better against single targets. So just keep that in mind, but you can try it out yourself, see for what you like. I'm not sure when you should make the swap, but you'll have to experiment with that, or just not get it at all, because it's expensive to get. This guide in itself is actually pretty budget friendly. The Skin of the Loyal, if you want the right colors, this cost me 2 exalts, but a thing to keep in mind is that you don't need Skin of the Loyal if you want to do this build. You can instead simply just go with 5-link Energy Shield Regalia, or a 6-link if you can get that. It doesn't have to be Skin of the Loyal. Skin of the Loyal is just nice if you can afford it and get the right colors. Another thing that's nice with this is, of course, the 100% increased global defenses. So even though you are using, something that doesn't really have any stats, it still increases your energy shield rate. So if I take this off, you can see I actually gain a pretty significant amount of energy shield by using this alone, and it allows me to use that shield now. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. As for the flask setup, you may be wondering, what the fuck is a mana flask? Who the fuck uses a mana flask in their build? The mana flask here is really only for when you need to spam against bosses. So as you can see, when I hold down the button here, it drains, but if you use that mana flask, you can keep spamming it. And that's important when you are using the poison setup, so you can keep stacking poisons onto the enemies. And you can kill pretty fast with that if you just get enough poison stacked on. So that's why you don't have to use it normally when you just run around clearing in maps. I'm using the Witchfire Brew so that when I have Malediction here, is that how you pronounce it? Malediction. When you have this, I get that +1 to additional curses. So this, together with my temporal chains here set up with Blasphemy, this allows me to run 2 curses. So temporal chains for defense and extra duration on the poison and the degen, and the damage from the vulnerability. Rumi's Concoction still for the blue block, and this is great with Wicked Ward. I get around 48% chance to block when I use that. Basalt Flask, damage mitigation, and then of course just a Quicksilver Flask to run around. I don't really use a movement skill besides the Flame Dash. I don't find it to be too necessary, and the Consuming Dark by itself is kinda slow, so Shield Charge or Whirling Blades, nah, I don't really want to do that. Also get Valerium, so you're stun immune, or at least close to. And this is the budget version. You could of course go for something like the upgraded Sheula and all that stuff, but I don't really think it's worth it for this. Or you could go for the Kiaras and so forth. But you can go to my profile, and there is a link in the description of the video. If you go to my profile and you find this character, Sergil's NerdBro, you can see the skill tree, And you can see the gear I'm using, and you can see the skill gems that I'm using. So just, if you're interested in this build, go check that out. And keep in mind, you can do this on a budget. The only thing that's expensive here is Skin of the Loyal, and you only you could use a rare here instead. Oh, with that said, I am using an Empower here. Instead of the Empower level 3, you could just add in Pierce, and you will get damage instead. So super budget if you take out the Empower too. As for the skill tree itself, it is a pretty generic chaos damage, damage over time, essence drain, skill tree. CI, chaos damage in the various nodes. Get some mana regen, so it's a little easier to sustain. It gets some jewel sockets for more damage and a bit of mana regen, but I'm not really sure if I find the mana regen to be that important. But jewel sockets are pretty important too. You get a lot of damage for that. I found that I needed a bit of dexterity, so spec into that. You may need both strength and dexterity if you don't get enough of it on your gear. And as for the ascendancy choice, the priority here, what I did first was simply go Void Beacon, because the damage is nice early on when Essence Drain is otherwise a little slow. I then went for Wicked Ward, and then eventually Malediction here. Profane Bloom, there is... some people don't like it because it can't stop the spread of Essence Drain. I don't find it to be that much of an issue. It does stop it sometimes. It's a little annoying sometimes, and other times, you know, it's of benefit, especially in breaches when it just explodes everything. So it's up to you. What you could do instead is simply spec out of this, go for Vile Bastion, and then grab these 2 energy shield points instead, and get these points up here if you want to run dual curse. But I personally think Malediction is nice, and or Profane Bloom is nice, and it's worth it, even with the downsides. Now, let's say you wanted to do a build that dealt more damage than this. What you can do is you can go low life, and then you can spec into Pain Attunement, and instead of running a weapon and a shield, you could run Consuming Dark and a Delirium weapon. That will give you the most damage you can possibly get for Essence Drain. And it's powerful. But it's also significantly more expensive. You would need a Shafts. That's easily 3, 4, 5 exalts at least, and that's unlinked. And yeah, it gets much more expensive, but if you have the budget, you could do something like that, and it's pretty much the same skill tree you would use. You would just pick up Pain Attunement and maybe fix it with your, mana reservation, add in a few more auras and things like that. But it can work. Now I'm gonna leave the link to the profile so you can see all the links and the gear I'm using, and I'm gonna create some leveling skill trees. So if you want to start leveling this, you know how to approximately go in the skill tree. Only use it as guidelines. If there's something you feel like you don't want to do right now, or if you need more energy shield or life at that point, just back into that. It's just guidelines. And also be aware that the leveling skill tree that I post here, they will have some life nodes. They'll be picking up something like Blood Siphon and maybe Cruel Preparation and things like that. You'll need to spec out of them later. It's just so when you're leveling, you can have a bit of life and make it easier. So be, aware of that in the leveling skill trees. That's why there is some life nodes. But that's the guide, guys. I think this is a pretty solid build. You can probably do all the content in the game with this. I haven't tried Shaper, but you should be able to do that. There are people who have killed Shaper with less damage than what this build provides. But you can do the Guardians, you can probably do the Shaper, as I said. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to do Atzeri and Uber Atzeri. And as for the other, general bosses, you should be fine with that. I did find that I had some problems in like the Toll and Ulnatoll breaches, just because the mechanics of Essence Drain. You have to stop up, cast, and if you don't hit the spread of the Contagion, it sometimes takes too long and you run out of time. But that's pretty much it. If you want to try it out, the guides or the link to the profile and the skill trees are in the description below. Bandit choices, all that stuff. Anyway, thank you for watching. Happy New Year, and bros, do you even nerd? just need this down and... Okay. Should die now. Yes. Okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Oh my god. Shit, with these mods, this is much better. Enfeeble, Monster Life, Chaos Resistance.